Zoom the recording. We do record these sessions. And so again, let me do this properly here. My name is John Meredith, and I am your facilitator for this workshop, this 2-hour session here, hour and a half to 2-hour session. Again, want to welcome you all to this session brought to you by AWS and Sumo Logic. Sumo Logic is an AWS partner. In fact, they're ISV Vendor of the Year for this past year. We received that award at reInvent. So my name is John Meredith. I'm located here in Bedford, New Hampshire on the US East Coast. And like I said, I'm a trainer with Sumo Logic and have been with Sumo a little over a couple of years. So I want to welcome you. And again, what you're seeing behind me is my home office. Typical of the times we live in. Hopefully we'll get to do this face-to-face real soon. But anyway, here today to talk about Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM on AWS. SIEM standing for Security Information and Event Management System. So you'll find that Sumo Logic has two products that are offered by AWS, the Cloud SIEM and the Cloud SIEM Advanced, and we're going to talk about that today. That's kind of our agenda. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Cloud SIEM with AWS and Sumo Logic, and then we're really going to jump into the Cloud SIEM and the Cloud SIEM Advanced products. We have an opportunity, if you guys want to, some hands-on labs that we'll do together. And then we'll also, if you want, take a 30-minute certification exam if you're so inclined. You don't have to. There's no cost for it. You can take it later if you want to, but want to try to make this typical of the classes that we offer at Sumo Logic and also help with AWS. So again, if you've got any questions, the only thing I ask is if you got questions, please let us know. Hey, Michael, welcome to class. And if you got any questions and stuff, please let us know. And otherwise, I'll go ahead and get this party started. So welcome. A couple of things on the AWS side. As you all know, AWS has various organization structures, and they have the AWS organization and your various account structures. So again, all of your accounts as part of an AWS organization are managed as a whole entity. So if you've got sub accounts and stuff like that, using AWS organizations, you can manage that. Okay. There's also some security tooling accounts that you have within AWS, right? AWS Guard Duty or Amazon Guard Duty, Amazon Detective, KMS for your encryption and stuff like that. So there are some AWS tools that you have on the AWS side to help you manage things. The focus of today is really going to be the tools on the Sumo Logic side that, of course, are being offered by AWS. So AWS has offered up and added to their tool set some of our products, which we call Cloud SIEM. Again, also in AWS, there's a whole bunch of logs, right? There's CloudTrail logs, there's Guard Duty logs, there's all kinds of logs, DNS logs and stuff like that. And again, that's a strength that you can use and play with regards to Sumo Logic. Sumo Logic has the ability to ingest logs and metrics, and you can build queries and things like that to see what's going on, as well as we've got a whole bunch of applications for AWS and other products available that you can see what's going on. So again, dealing with a lot of things, all the logs that you have in AWS, there's a lot of different things going on, right? There's DNS logs from Route 53, there's CloudFront stuff, there's VPC logs, there's all kinds of logs that we'll see. And you'll be able to see some of this in the session today. So play with that. And so what we have here is we have a Cloud SIEM product powered by AWS. It's something that Sumo Logic has. And there's two facets of it. So you can take all these logs that you're ingesting and you can run analytics on them. Now, you may run analytics on them from a perspective of security, but you'll find that we also have AWS observability, so you can see across your environments. There's a lot of things that you can do with Sumo Logic and the Cloud SIEM offering. This Cloud SIEM offering is mostly on security, but like I said, we do have other things with regards to operational aspects of your environment, the health and care feeding of your environment, and things like that. Later on in the presentation, I'll show you how you can get access to a free trial of Sumo Logic if you're interested. So again, a couple of challenges that you face. I assume that you face. I know playing with AWS and other cloud products, I see them all the time. And one of the issues is multi-cloud support, right? So you want to be able to see across your clouds and to see how things are going. legacy security information and event managers weren't built for multiple cloud environments. If you got a large organization, large clouds, large number of clouds, dev, prod, QA, you really can't see across that. With the Cloud SIEM by AWS here, you can see across those. Additionally, there's a lot of shift in the threat landscape. It changes by second. Things happen, new threats are found, new threats are issued. And so again, we need to be able to be dynamic for that. And finally, there's something called alert fatigue, that if you're dealing with alerts and problems and security issues and all that stuff, it wears the human being down. And so what we've got here is a solution, or actually two solutions, that will allow you to reduce that alert fatigue, keep you focused, keep you fresh, make it easy for you to deal with any situations that might come up. Okay. So the Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM, powered by AWS, allows you to basically solve these three areas. Now, as I said, there's two products. There's Cloud SIEM and there's Cloud SIEM Advanced. The Cloud SIEM Advanced, you're going to find, is a security information and event management system that reduces things like alert fatigue, that deals with the shift in threat landscape. And then the Cloud SIEM by AWS typically deals with your multi-cloud support and allows you to see basically what's going on here. And again, you can buy it through the AWS marketplace. All of the data stays in AWS. We, Sumo Logic, run on AWS natively, so everything stays in the AWS environment. Okay. So typically what happens with companies, either you have a security operations center or you don't have a security operations center. And so if you don't have a security operations center, you may want to look at the Cloud SIEM piece by AWS, powered by AWS. Because what this can do is you can write queries, and we have some built-in dashboards that already have some of those queries in it, to see what's going on. It's kind of your first level, first defense, to see what's going on with detection and investigation, make sure that you're in compliance with whatever policies and stuff you have. Look at things like Amazon guard duty findings to see if there's issues near you or affecting you. And of course, this would can reduce your lower total cost of ownership. And of course, it integrates with everything on the AWS stack. Now, if you have a SOC, then you also have the ability to take advantage of Cloud SIEM Advanced, which is our security information and event management product per se. It's going to take all the data that comes in through the various logs. It's going to analyze that data. And if it finds something that matches a known threat or a known issue, it'll basically alert you and keep track of that information. And you're going to see both of these in the next hour and 30 minutes or hour and whatever, however long it takes. All right. So again, that's me. And again, we're going to walk through this. This is kind of our game plan here for things. So again, we're going to sit and see this. We will take a little break in probably in about 45 minutes or so, a quick 5-minute break if you need to. Again, it's a small group, so if you don't want to, that's fine with me. We can just plow through and get you guys back on track. Sumo Logic itself allows you to look at your environment from an operational perspective, an observability perspective, right? Are my microservices up? Are they running? Are they not running? If I'm dealing with things like Kubernetes and other systems, are those doing their jobs? Am I able to see transparently across my environment, across all of your AWS environments? So it's really, really handy in that regard. I want to see across my AWS environments, see what's up, see what's down, see what's going sideways, see when my thresholds are occurring with regards to CPU usage, or I'm spinning up another environment or grabbing more resources, that sort of thing. For the purposes of today's conversation, we're focused really more on security. Where are my users logging in from? What sort of activity am I seeing through my ports? What sort of malware activity might I be seeing? What sort of various activities? So we have dashboards that show you that sort of information, and you can build. We also have out-of-the-box applications that you can take advantage of with those built-in queries and things like that. And then, of course, you can also look at things from a business intelligence perspective, right? What am I selling? What are people interested in? What websites, what pages are getting hit frequently? Maybe which ones aren't, et cetera, et cetera. And then at a very high level, and we'll see this with guard duty in just a few minutes, I can see, you know, if guard duty detects there's some sort of an attack going on in part of the world, I can see maybe from a high level who's impacted and that sort of thing. Again, your data comes from a wide variety of things. I'm going to assume, since you're here on an AWS event, that your data is probably in the cloud, but it might also be on-prem, various other systems. We don't care. We can take your log data, your metric data, we can ingest it in, period. Okay. Sumo Logic is born in the cloud, raised in the cloud, so we support multi-tenancy. We do run on AWS. We, secure, we scale up, scale down, that sort of thing. You'll find that we've got some nice machine learning in here, as well as some advanced analytics. We also have some API functionality in our product, quite a bit of API functionality. API, of course, standing for Application Programming Interface. And basically, it allows you to make hooks into Sumo Logic from various applications. So if you want to programmatically create users, create roles, create collectors, and things like that, you can certainly do that. The most important thing is this little icon over here, and the slide is actually, the text is a little off, so I apologize for that. But the slide over here talks about how we are certified. So we have outside agencies who have given us their blessing for SOC 2 compliance, CSA STAR compliant, PCI compliant, and we are FedRAMP moderate authorized. So these are the certifications that we maintain and we've achieved, and we work with great rigor to ensure the quality of those certifications. And of course, those outside agencies audit us from time to time to make sure we're maintaining compliance. So, all right, again, when we think in terms of Sumo Logic and AWS and security intelligence solutions, we think, first of all, am I in compliance, right? Am I in compliance with what's going on, that sort of thing. And so that's part of our Cloud SIEM powered by AWS. This part right here, we got a bunch of built-in applications that you can install, guard duty apps, various other applications to see, am I in compliance? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Additionally, we also have the ability to write our own searches, look at our log data, write our own searches, create our own dashboards, our own alerts, perform various analytics. So we can see, like I said, where people are logging in from, what types of systems they're logging in from. We can look at traffic, VPC traffic, and see if there's any outlier with regards to our traffic. Various other dashboards and things we can create. So these two things here and here are part of our Cloud SIEM powered by AWS. Then the Cloud SIEM Advanced is a heads-up display threat analyst type tool where we can also ingest logs and various other things. And we can see if there's anything that matches a known threat. And if it does match a known threat, it'll eventually turn itself into an insight, and then we can analyze that insight. This tool really reduces analyst fatigue quite nicely. And again, we'll talk about all three of these things as we go forward, okay? If I were to talk a little bit more here about the searching, dashboard, and analyzing, again, you can create in Sumo Logic searches. Now, obviously, the purpose of this workshop here is to talk about security searches. But you'll find in Sumo Logic, you can create searches on anything, right? Searches on how much S3 data you're consuming, searches on, various other aspects of your AWS environment. And then from those searches, you can create visualizations, bar charts, line charts, map charts. And you can take those visualizations and start building dashboards. Each one of these visualizations in this dashboard is a panel, which represents a query. And that's what we created over here. So we can build out dashboards to kind of tell the story, to make it easy for your security operations center, your network operations center to see what's going on. And then last but not least, you'll find that we've got a powerful set of advanced analytics in this tool to make it very easy for you and for I to create and build the things that we need to do. Okay. As I mentioned before, in our Cloud SIEM product here, we've got a whole bunch of built-in out-of-the-box applications that you can install, dealing with a lot of AWS type stuff, but not exclusively AWS. We got stuff for Zoom, Salesforce. We even have some other cloud platforms in here as well. So these also support and set up real-time monitoring and alerts that you and I can take advantage of as well. So these are out-of-the-box applications that, like I said, you and I can see. Show you in just a few minutes where those things are, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to go in here and start doing some hands-on labs, and we're going to sit there and start doing some threat analysis, quick analysis, right? We're going to look at correlating our CrowdStrike information. CrowdStrike, as you may know, is a product that companies purchase where they can send information about a domain name or an IP address or file hash or whatever, and CrowdStrike will tell them the nature of that, if it's a known threat, if there's known actors, things like that. We have that partnership with CrowdStrike. So through our tool, you can make queries against CrowdStrike through our tool and look that information up and see some known threats. And that's also something that we take advantage of with the Cloud SIEM Advanced as well. So in the Cloud SIEM and the Cloud SIEM Advanced product both. So let me kind of give you a little overview here of some of the things that you and I can do. Okay. Don't mind me. I'm going to turn that off for a second. And I'm going to go out here to our Sumo Logic environment. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to have you log into the Sumo Logic environment. But for right now, let me go in here and take a peek. And let me go ahead and log in. And in my case, what I want to do here is I want to go to our demo environment. So I'm switching to our demo environment. And I'll talk a little bit about all of this lovely stuff and the interface and all that in just a few. But what I want to do is I want to go into my library here, which is our shared area of things. I want to go into our SIEM demo. And here in our SIEM demo, I'm going to go into the Security Demo 3.0 folder. And you'll notice here I've got a security dashboard for AWS and as well as other products here. And so if I open up this security demo for AWS, you can see, I can see, and let me kind of zoom this in a little bit, make it a little easier for you to see. Okay. I can start here and I can see where my users are logging in from, right? Where are they logging in from? And I can see a map. And again, since I'm in the United States, I can start breaking this information down to get a sense for where people are logging in from. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. Additionally, I can go through my logs as data comes in over the last 60 minutes. I've detected 2 IP addresses that CrowdStrike recognizes. And I can see that one of those, which has a malicious confidence, a threat level of high, has hit my environment 122 times. Now, again, this is fictitious data to show and tell stories here. This is not, we're really, under attack or something like that. So don't, we're just trying to tell a good story here. So I can see that I've got this, and then I can go into my logs and see what that IP address is and look, see what that IP address has been doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But each one of these panels represents some sort of a query that was written to tell a story of what's happening. Over here on the right, I have a user in the last 3 hours, I have a user that's logged in, and they logged in from 2 different IP addresses. One of those IP addresses is based in the United States, the other is in Egypt. Now, since we don't have transported technology in today's world, it's kind of impossible. So that would be a suspicious login, and we may want to find out, talk to that user and see what happened. Is it possible that they VPN'd in somewhere and that redirected them? Sure, but we need to know, we need to look into this. So these are the sort of queries that you and I can create with this Cloud SIEM environment. I can look at my data sent here by my S3 buckets. And by the way, I can also, if I want to turn on or turn off, use my legend here as a selector switch to filter my data if I want to. I can see my guard duty logs to see what's going on there. I can go down here and see my VPC flow, data flow traffic. And again, what I'm seeing here with these red triangles are outliers. So statistically, my traffic is normal, and all of a sudden it jumps, and I can see various outliers based on statistical functions, based on standard deviation, really. Over here, I can see my firewall traffic. And as you can see, I've received a lot of traffic. If I filter out and turn off my bytes received and only look at my bytes sent, you can see I've sent some traffic. And you'll notice here when I've got my bytes received traffic, I've got my bytes sent traffic spike at the same time. So kind of correlates, follows a logical pattern. Down here, I can look at my anti-malware events. I can see over time, over the last 3 hours, how many things we have cleaned, deleted, denied access to, or quarantined. I can also see things that are recognized as threats, critical threats, medium threats, high threats, that sort of thing. And of course, I can investigate this further. So this hopefully gives you a little taste of some of the things that we can do with regards to this tool. Some of the things you can do with regards to this tool. Any questions about the demo? All right, then. Let us continue on. What I want you to do now is I want you to log in. So I want you to log into our training environment. So here's the deal. I want you to fire up Google Chrome or Firefox. Google Chrome or Firefox web browsers. And I want you to go to service.sumologic.com. That's service.sumologic.com. And when you go there, it's going to ask you for an email address and a password. Now, the email address where you see these hashtags here, you're going to replace that with the 3-digit number, the 3-digit number of your dreams. So if you want to be 007, now today you can be 007. If you have a particular number that you're really fond of, 3-digit number, please type that 3-digit number in. In fact, what I'd like you to do is type that 3-digit number in the chat box. Type that 3-digit number in the chat box, and that way I know what number you're using, and I can make sure that, if there's a problem and stuff, I know what's going on. So in the chat box, you just type in what a 3-digit number you want. Then you're going to log in as Training Plus Analyst with that 3-digit number at Sumo Logic as your email address. Now, let me help you out here a little bit. Let me take this code, copy it, and I'm going to add it to the chat box as well. So again, if you'd let me know what 3-digit number you're going to use by typing in the chat box, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Harrison. And again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch my environments, go back to my Sumo Logic training environment, and I'm going to log out. Okay. If you don't know how to log out of Sumo Logic, it's real simple. You open up this navigation panel over here on the left where the Sumo Logic word is, or this hamburger menu is. You click on that. Down here, you'll see your account. You can click on that, and there's a sign out option. So now I'm looking at what you're looking at. I'm seeing what you're seeing. And again, let me go ahead and magnify up here a little bit, make it a little easier for you to see. Okay. Now, I'm not going to grab number 411. I'm actually going to grab, if you don't mind, 985. And you may ask, well, what's so special about 985? 985 is the whole number of the USS Cushing. That was the last Navy ship I was on. I'm a retired Navy guy. So I'm going to log in as Training Plus Analyst 985 at sumologic.com. And I want you to log in as Training Plus Analyst, whatever 3-digit number you have, at sumologic.com. And then the password is spring22 exclamation mark. So if I click on this little icon, I can see what I'm typing in, and it's capital S PRING 22 exclamation mark. Now, one other thing I wanted you to be aware of, our training environment is open to the public. So you can, I can, we can go out here and play. You've got a user ID that's valid, and you'll be able to log in. The only thing that's going to change is the password. The password changes on the first Monday of every month. And as you can imagine, we're kind of close to May. So the point is, if you want to ever go into our training environment and you want to, in May or June or whatever, and play around in our training environment, you probably want the new password. And so I am going to put in here my email address so that you can reach out to me, and I will gladly let you know what that new password is. Additionally, as a special bonus, I am going to upload here a PDF that hopefully you can all grab from the chat box. Hopefully your company has not restricted your ability to grab a PDF from the chat box. If it has, let me know and I'll try to help you out. But that PDF is going to have the steps that we are going to do on the labs that we are going to see. So if you can click on that PDF and download it, you will see here is the PDF. It says log into the training environment. And then we're going to go into various activities. So first thing I want us to do is I want us to log in. And when you log in, you should see something that looks like this. You may have a whole bunch of tabs open here. If somebody previously logged in with that account, left a bunch of things open, then they may have some tabs open there. I'll show you how to clean that out in a minute. But I want to make sure you're all logged in. So if you're all logged in, if you would, just give me a raise your hands and stuff in the participants window, so I know that you're in and you're ready to play. If you're having problems, let me know that too. And I also understand that, sometimes you get bogged in by work, other issues, other things. So sometimes it's hard to play and participate when you're fighting fires from work. So I realize I may not have 100% participation here. I'm not new. All right, so 2 of you have logged in. Michael, is there a problem, or are you just kind of watching and observing? Again, if you have problems, let me know. It's a nice small group. So I'm going to lower the hands, and I'm going to assume Michael's just, got involved with work and stuff. So just following along. So here we are in the Sumo Logic environment. Here is our library where people can install things, our administrator can install things, and we can play with those things. Here's your personal folder. When you install things, it'll be put in your personal folder, and you can then see it there. Here is our favorites, and you can mark something as a favorite. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. And also I can see recently opened by me or recently shared with me. So I can see various things. Down here is our main menu. And in our main menu, if I click under help, here's where I can get to our documentation. Here's where I can get to our support site, look at feature requests, community, all kinds of neat stuff. Okay. Make it really easy for you. All right. So first thing I want to point out, and first of all, let me take a pause here for a second. Are there any questions? Any questions? All right. First thing I want to point out is if I click on the main menu. So again, if your navigation panel is not open, closed up, just click where it says Sumo Logic or on this hamburger menu. And then where it says App Catalog, if you open that up, you'll see that in our app catalog, we've got a whole slew of applications. Okay, these are all of our applications, all categories. You want to focus on just AWS stuff? Well, you can click on AWS. Bottom line is that we can see a whole slew of applications. And we can install those various applications. Okay, and these have some built-in queries and things that you can use. For example, if I look here, hang on a second. I'll tell you what, let's take one we can relate to right now. You're on a Zoom call, right? So down here at the bottom, we've got Zoom. If I click on that Zoom link, I can see the dashboard information that we're going to have. So here we got a dashboard on administrative activities. What are my administrator doing? What kind of user account activity am I seeing? User account trends. What sort of authentication issues might I be running into? What sort of Zoom availability am I seeing? What sort of guest activity, meeting security, meeting usage, overview, all kinds of, these are already pre-built. All you have to do when you install this by clicking add to library is define it and connect it to the data that's coming into your Sumo Logic environment, your Zoom logs, and then it will basically populate these dashboards for you. Okay, and you're going to see that because we're going to do an exercise in that in just a little bit. In activity 2, we're going to install an application. Now, we've also got some applications here installed. So I'm going to go into, and per the directions in here, says in the shared library folder, click on the global intelligence for Amazon Guard Duty. So here we are, shared folder, shared library. Here is global intelligence for Amazon Guard Duty. And here I've got Guard Duty 01, Guard Duty 02, Guard Duty 03. Let's take a look at Guard Duty 01. And by the way, can any of you all tell me what Guard Duty is all about? What does Guard Duty do for me? Any takers? Okay. Guard Duty as a product allows us to see security across the AWS environment. okay? We can see around the world and see basically what sort of threats we are receiving. So here in the O1, I am looking at that global baseline. I am looking at that global baseline over the last 7 days. I can see what my threat mix is. So for example, here, I can see I got backdoor activity, I've got discovery activity, execution activity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if I want to here, I can see specifically within those what sort of back duty activity I have. So I can see that majority of my 82%, almost 83%, is some sort of a DNS type activity. Credential access, I can go over here and put my tooltip on it. Abnormalist behavior. Cryptocurrency, which right now is starting to get a bit of more activity and stuff like that, a bit of an emphasis here. Starting to see some activity. So here I can see the kinds of threats that we've got coming in based on the major categories, penetration tests and stuff like that. This is around the world that's detected by AWS GuardDuty. I can also see broken down here whether I'm seeing this through my user console, my IAM user console, or through Kubernetes or S3 or EC2. And it looks like the majority of my targeted resources are EC2. So kind of nice to know. Severity. Severity is, again, low, medium, or high, so I can see how that's shaping out. And then down here, I've got a beautiful map of the world saying that, I've got some threat from this part of the world that's trying to access, threaten the US or whatever, or I've got somebody over here, looks like probably Korea, trying to do some abnormal behavior to Australia. And so I can kind of see how things are working here, where these things and stuff are coming from. Now, this is around the world. It's not specific to me or your company or any sort of thing like that, okay? It just kind of gives us an idea of what's happening around the world. If I go into GuardDuty O2, I just clicked on the star, so let me explain the star here. If you want to take any of these and mark these as a favorite, to add them to your favorites, you simply click on that star, okay? So if I go in here into a dashboard or something that I like, and I really want to make that part of my favorites, all I got to do is click on the star to make it a favorite. Or if I don't want it to be a favorite anymore, I click on the star again, hollow it back out. So that's how I add things to favorites. So now here in GuardDuty O2, I'm looking at your company versus the baseline. How are we doing? Okay. And again, please understand this is because we're trying to tell a story here. Normally, I would expect your risk to be fairly low, but we're trying to tell a story. So we've got some simulated data here that's trying to show threats. And we can see that over the last 2 days, we started getting a lot of activity. Again, we can look at the logs to get a better sense for what that activity is. But I can also see here what my global mix is. Some of these are based on behavior. A little bit here is based on, there we go, unauthorized access. Down here, I can see whether the severity is high, medium, low, that sort of thing. I can look at various action plans here if I want to. And by the way, you can also modify these. You can go in and look at the underlying query, and you can change the underlying query and modify it if you want to, okay? But really what you want to do, what's probably the most important dashboard of the set for you, is probably O3. Because O3 is basically going to take you a bit deeper into these findings. And so O3 is going to show you your company's threat mix. I mentioned that 98% of them or whatever, 99% of them is behavior. Well, here's the 99%, here's that 0.1%. I can look at the various rare threats. The unauthorized access is a rare threat, doesn't happen very often. I can see where these threats are coming from or where they're occurring. So I can see where they're coming from in this case, what IP address and all that fun stuff. And then down here, I can also see what they're trying to attack. So most of this, they're trying to attack my EC2 environments. But if I wanted to, I could see what's happening with my user consoles. Okay. This threat severity. And again, I can see threat by account ID. Maybe I want to dissolve this account ID and move everything over, whatever you want to do. And again, I can see my threats. This is an outlier diagram showing me in red my data points. The cloud around that denotes my standard deviations. And if it's outside of that standard deviation, I'll get a pink triangle. Everything right now is within normal parameters. And then I can see my threats by region across my timeline here. So these are things that are built right out of the box. This is an application that you could install that gives you information about AWS GuardDuty. And that, folks, is activity number 1. What questions have you?
I had a general question about data imports compared to something like an Elastic cluster where you have to use Elastic Common Schema to try to, format your log data on new imports. And so just comparatively, like if you're just going to be sending log data from your existing operational environment, like what's the workload comparatively between those two?
I'm not sure if I understand your question correctly, but as far as grabbing data and stuff like that, you would go in here and you would create a collector and sources. The collector is nothing more than it's going to encrypt, compress, and send your data to Sumo. That's what it does. These triangle thingies here are collectors. And since you're on AWS, it would be a hosted collector. Okay. Then inside of these, you've got sources, the various sources of data, S3 logs, CloudTrail, whatever. So I'm not sure I'm answering your question. So
for example, like with an Elastic cluster, when you would add a collector or, for example, a log stash pipeline, you would have to write the schema to instruct the log stash collector on how to break the fields out. Okay. And so in Sumo Logic, does it do that for you, or do you have to teach it how to break the fields out for the collector?
Yep. Typically, Sumo Logic does that for you. We already know what an Elastic environment looks like. We know what a Kubernetes environment looks like. We know. Now you can add additional metadata tags if you want to. So like, for example, you want to take about what business unit you're charging this to or whatever, you can add those tags. But we already have got configured in there a bunch of different metadata tags to make it very easy for you to identify that information. So it's pretty automatic.
Okay, thanks.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a feel for
how much work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge pain point with an Elastic cluster on trying, because you basically have to write the schema that you're going to use in your clusters, and it just seems like it's not even worth it.
Yep, understand. Let me do this. I'm going to go to help. I'm going to go to documentation, which is going to take me to our documentation, right? And I am going to look for Elastic clusters. Oops, excuse me. Helps if I put a space in there. And let's see what we find. You want the container service here, I assume, correct?
And I'm thinking like so we have an Elastic cluster that we run where
right,
we send logs to, and so like for maybe like something like an endpoint security, maybe like a Trellix, which used to be McAfee. Like, do you have what kind of ingest collector is already defined for that?
Okay, good question. And one thing, just so you know, we're making a switch to going open telemetry. So that will make things a lot easier since everybody's starting to establish a standard to open telemetry. But, we do have specific collectors and specific sources for various environments. Just for fun here, let me do this. Let me open up this hosted collector and let me click on add source, which I can't do that. Hold on. Let me sign out. Let me grab my account, which has administrative rights across here. Okay. And in here, if I go into manage data, if I go into collection, if I go into here and I want to add a source, these are some of the sources that you can define with a hosted collector. And if the source that you're looking for is not here, here's some of the AWS ones. Elastic load balancing is right there. But if it's not, the source what you're looking for is not here, then you may have to go and put in an installed collector. But should not be a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for asking. Any other questions? All right. So in activity number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to install an app. We're going to show you how you can install an app. So we're going to go into the app catalog. We're going to find the app called Threat Intel for AWS, another built for AWS type app. We're going to click add to library or click install. We're in the process of changing that button from add to library to install. We're going to give it a name and we're going to tie it to the data sources. So again, I'm going to go to my app catalog. I'm going to start typing in threat. Helps if I type it in correctly. Threat Intel for AWS. There it is. There's the application. By the way, I see I've got my caps lock on. Again, here I can see here the dashboards it's going to produce for me, right? VPC logs, CloudTrail logs, Elastic load balancing logs, and my overview of those systems. Now, you may or may not in your AWS environment have some of these, but you can still install the app, just don't fill in the information for that. What I'm trying to tell you is that we're going to click add to library in the training environment. And I'm going to call this Threat Intel for AWS. I'm going to put my initials. You don't have to, yeah, you might want to put your initials in there. And then here's where I tie it to where the data is coming from. So where does my CloudTrail log data come from? What's it called? We have a field called source category that we typically define for the data that we want to bring in. So in our case, it's lab/AWS/CloudTrail. And as I start typing in, you'll see that my type ahead lets me get a pick list here of various things that match. And I'm going to select lab/AWS/CloudTrail. That's where my CloudTrail logs come from. That's what we called it. My VPC logs, lab/AWS/VPC. And again, you'll see I've got a selector there that I can select. And then, so in our training environment, we have all 3 sources. And I'm going to select all 3 sources. And you've probably figured out by now, it's going to be AWS, and then ELB for my Elastic load balancers. So I am defining where this data is coming from. It's coming into Sumo Logic. These are the names for the respective logs. Here under advanced, you'll see it's going to install it to my personal folder, and that's fine. One other thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to put today's date up here in my title name. There's a reason why. I'll show you in just a minute. You don't have to put today's date in here, but you'll see in a minute why I need to. So when I click add to library, it's going to now add this application to my library. So as soon as this is done, I can now go into my library. And here in my library, I can search for this specific application, Threat Intel. Now you see I've got Threat Intel here for AWS, and I've got some others with my initials. That is why I put my initials in here. And that is why I put today's date, so it would be a unique name. So here's the one I installed today, 0426. And as you can see from the icon, it's a folder. If I click on it, you'll see it has 3 dashboards and a couple of queries. So if I start with the overview dashboard, and if I click on that, you'll now see I am seeing my threat intel for my AWS environment. And I can see here scanned events over time. I can look by my various things to see what's happening. As far as my various scanned events, I see I have a lot of CloudTrail activity going on, okay? And again, I can see here, my CloudTrail ingestion here, my VPC scan ingestion, my ELB ingestion. And again, I can see how it threats over time to get a sense for what's happening, as well as, again, my VPC, my CloudTrail, my threat outlier. And I see I've got a little outlier right there, okay? Then, of course, I could also go into these very specific applications, these very specific dashboards. So here's my ELB, my elastic load balancer. And I can see my IP threats based on my geography. I can see my threats associated with specific IP addresses. So there's the source IP address. Here's the request, all that. Now, these are built out of the box. So all you need to do is install this application, and you should, in fact, be good to go. This one's taking a little time to run here. Just have lots of good data here. By the way, you see this green line up here. That means that's how long the query is taking to run so far. It's about 2/3 of the way done. So hopefully you guys are starting to see some of the power and capability here of Sumo Logic. Okay. And by the way, that's activity 2, where you installed an application, see the results of that application. Now, another thing that we can do is we can write queries. We can write queries to see what's happening. So here in activity 3, and by the way, my suggestion here for activity 3, if you've got the PDF, I can take this code right here. I can swipe over this code. I do not want to swipe over between these 2 pages. So I want to grab it 1 page at a time. I'm going to copy that code. I'm going to go into Sumo Logic here by clicking the new blue button, click log search. That's going to open up a log search query. I'm going to paste in my code. I'm going to go to the next line. The next line, by the way, to get to the next line, it's a shift enter or an alt enter. So when you paste your code here, it's going to put the cursor at the end of the line. If you do a shift enter or an alt enter, depending on what keyboard you're on, it should do a carriage turn line feed to the next line. Then I can go to the next page here, and I can grab this information, this query information. I said I can swipe over it, right click, excuse me. Right click, copy, paste. Now, what is this code doing? 1, I'm setting a limit. This first line, I'm setting a limit for 1 record, 1 result. That's it, 1. Okay. Don't have to, but I could. Then I'm typing in a pipe here. The pipes are used to join my statements together. So basically, a pipe is nothing more than saying, I want to do this. Pipe, now I want to do this. Pipe, now I want to do that. Connects my things together. Here I'm specifying a specific IP address is my threat. Then we're going to send information to CrowdStrike. We are going to take this IP address, which I've called my threat, right here. We're going to pass it to CrowdStrike, or from a table we get from CrowdStrike, and we're going to ask CrowdStrike to look up the type of activity, the actor, the raw information that comes from CrowdStrike, and the threat level, but we're going to rename the threat level and we're going to call it malicious confidence. Now, just for fun here, if you don't mind, I'm going to comment out these last 2 lines for just a second. And you can add a comment by typing in 2 forward slashes. And I'm going to run this. So for the last 15 minutes, it's taken this IP address. It has sent it to CrowdStrike. And CrowdStrike has not identified who the actor is, whether it's a nation state actor like China or Russia or whatever, or a terrorist, a non-nation state actor. It's identified malicious confidence. There is the threat, the IP address that we sent. Here is the raw data we got from CrowdStrike. And then here is the message that we sent back and forth, as well as the type of information that we sent. Now, this next line in my query says, if my malicious confidence is null, then for my field here, data exist is, I'm going to put no in there. So I'm going to create a new field called data exist. And if my malicious confidence is null or blank or empty or whatever, I'm going to put a no value in there. Otherwise, I'm going to put a yes value in there. Since my malicious confidence is not null, I should get a yes in here. So if I remove the quote or the comment and I rerun this, I should now have a column in here called data exist. And because this is not null, I should see the value of yes in here. Then this fields command changes the order of the fields that I want to see. I can change them, I can add or remove them, I can do whatever else I want to do. So in this case, my fields command, when I run it, now puts these in the right order. I want to see my threat. I want to see, does data exist? What's the malicious confidence? Who's the actor? And then the overlying message. I don't care about the raw data. So this is just an example of a query that you can build inside Sumo Logic or inside of Cloud SIEM powered by AWS. Okay. And you learn how to write these in our training classes. By the way, I should point out that all of our training classes are free. All of our certifications are free. So we want to make you successful. We don't want money to get in the way. All right. Any questions on that activity, activity number 4? Any questions at all? Okay. And here's what I'd like to do. Let's take a 5-minute break. And so if you don't mind, let's take a quick 5-minute break. When this timer gets down to 0, I'd like you to be back here. Go grab some coffee, tea, juice, water, whatever. See you back in about 4 minutes and 53 seconds. Thanks. Hey folks, we're back. Hopefully you guys had a good break and life is good. My game plan here is let's go ahead and shift gears. Let me go back to my slides for just a minute. Again, we got you logged in. We showed you a little bit about our apps and how you can install those apps, configure those apps, and how we can run these queries, build these queries, and that sort of thing. No, there's not a lunch break, folks. Okay, sorry. So we talked about the audit and compliance component, how you can install the apps, see the dashboard, see what's going on, ensure that you're in compliance. And we've got a lot of applications out there that deal with compliance data. Then we focused on creating searches and how you can create these searches and you can build dashboards and all of that cool stuff, taking advantage of a lot of the advanced analytics. And again, due to time constraints, we didn't really get into any advanced analytics, but you saw like the outlier diagram and all that. We typically teach that in our classes. So, and now what we're going to do is we're going to shift gears. We're going to go into Cloud SIEM Advanced. And here we're going to talk about this great heads up display and the power of Cloud SIEM Advanced. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about this Cloud SIEM Advanced, right? Basically, what we're going to do is ingest logs. And again, this was born and built in the cloud as well. Okay. And we're going to use the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So how we detect things, how we look at things and stuff like that is based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And we're going to look at, like I said, your operating system logs, your firewall logs, your network traffic logs, whatever. And we're going to see if there's any correlation to something. I'm sorry, we're going to see if there's any records that come in that match a known incident, threat, whatever. And if that, then we're going to correlate that information by either IP address, host name, username, some sort of who type property. And if we get a bunch of those, like that score, a value, and by the way, each of these records that are signals that create, that are identified as a problem, all have a numeric weight to them. If that numeric weight is 10 or greater over a 2-week period, we then create these red triangles, these insights. And so it makes it very easy for you and I to see a pattern of what's happening. Okay. And again, as a few minutes, we're going to go into this tool and we're going to go play. Let's give you an idea of what happened. We first played with this. We did a customer 45-day evaluation. Went on a customer site, installed it, let them play with it, that sort of thing. And during the 45-day evaluation, they received 10 billion records, okay, from their logs and stuff like that. Now, again, we go through those records. If one of those records matches a known threat, we generate a signal. So out of that 45 days, we generated 9.8 million plus signals. We then looked at those signals and we correlated them by, again, IP address, host name, username, something representing who, and that generated 175 insights. Now, out of that 175 insights, we found that 95 of them, there was no action required. Something happened internally, whatever. It really wasn't a threat. And we were able to adjust those insights accordingly so that we didn't have any problems. We got 15 that were false positives. Okay. So again, we're able to adjust those to make sure and clean those out. There were really 65 instances that we really had to troubleshoot. Now this process happens all the time. My question for you is, how long would it take you or your company to go through 10 billion records to find out what the heck is going on? All right. So you're going to find this tool is very handy and very helpful, I think, to see what's happening. Now, here's the process that happens. We take our logs and our metrics and our data and all that stuff. We take it through our normal collection process. So our customer data comes in through our normal collection and ingestion process. And that generates something we call a message. Now we take those messages and we're going to look at those messages. We're going to start parsing them out. So we're going to parse out things like the IP address, things like the host name, certain things in that message. We'll parse them out. We will map them to known metadata fields in our product. We will also enrich this. And that generates then our records. So I'm sorry, the animated slide here, let me get going here. So again, we generate our messages, then we're going to parse, map, and enrich, which we call records. And again, we're going to take those records and we're going to compare them against our known rules. These rules come from the MITRE ATT&CK framework. We update these rules in our environment every 2 weeks, if not sooner. If something emergently comes out that the world becomes aware of, we'll send it out immediately. But otherwise, we typically update your rules every 2 weeks. We maintain those rules. Now, you can also create your own rules. You can also create your own insights. You can also create your own things. But for the ones that we create, we maintain. And so we're going to take those, compare that record against that rule. And if there's a match, then we're going to pull out the entity and we're going to generate a signal. Then we're going to correlate by the entity. And if we get so many of those signals in such a period of time, we're going to generate an insight. This is the process that we go through with regards to the data. And we do this automatically every single time. So it's pretty simple. So what do you say we log into our SIEM environment? So again, using the same credentials and looking at the Sumo logic environment that you're in right now. And by the way, I've got a bunch of tabs here open that, quite frankly, I don't need. I could close them one at a time, or I can click on these 3 vertical dots and I can choose to close all tabs. And that's going to close all my tabs. Okay. Now, over here on the left in my navigation panel, you'll see something called Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And that's how you get to the Cloud SIEM Enterprise, or is that Cloud SIEM Advanced? Now, just to keep the terminology squared away here, Sumo logic, we call this right here Cloud SIEM. Okay. The other stuff, the stuff I previously showed you, we call that security analytics. Okay. AWS, however, in a partnership with AWS, they decided to call the analytics portion Cloud SIEM, and they call this Cloud SIEM Advanced. So if you see a little bit of confusion in the terminology, that's why it is, that's why it exists, but it's not a big deal. So here I can, you can, we can go into, let me go back here for a second in case you missed it. I can, you can, we can go into this Cloud SIEM Enterprise environment, click on it, and it immediately takes us to our Cloud SIEM Advanced powered by AWS environment. Now, in here, you'll notice the screen's broken up into thirds. This area over here to the left shows me that I'm online. I've been online for the last, my range is 24 hours. I can change that if I want to. So I'm looking over the last 24 hours. And over the last 24 hours, I've ingested 17,000 records. That's down a little bit from the previous 24 hours. I've generated 1,000 signals. That's up a little bit from the last 24 hours. And I've generated 3 insights. Additionally, I can see various metrics that I have here, and I can put my cursor over this to see what those metrics mean, but I can see how long it's taking my team to remediate, respond, and stuff like that. I can see my insights by status, whether they're new, they've been marked in progress, they've been custom, they closed. You can also change and add your own statuses if you want to. And here I've got a timeline of my various things. Okay. So this over here, this area over the left is pretty much information. This thing that probably caught your eye when you first logged in is our heads-up display. The all-seeing eye, whatever you'd like to call it. On the outside, it shows me in blue here, dark blue or purple, the amount of records that I have ingested over this last 24 hours. Then it showed me the number of signals that it's generated. That's what these columns are, my signals. And then from my signals comes my insights. Now, my insights that are red are new. My insights that are orange are in progress. I could click on an insight to see it, but I'll show you other ways to get there. My latest insight is over here to the right. It says it's got a number 14971. It is a command and control insight. That command and control comes from my MITRE ATT&CK framework. The entity that it's surrounded by is all about Rico Dynamite. Rico Dynamite, the username. And by the way, notice there's some buttons over here that I can click on, and I can now look up Rico Dynamite, do a Google web search, or I can do a log search in my Sumo logic environment, or a query search, or whatever, looking at more information about Rico Dynamite. Over here, I have a timeline on my x-axis, a weight score on my y-axis here, all of the signals that make this up, and there are 3 signals over a period of 5 days that the signals all have a specific numeric weight. And I can see there's a little dot here, there's a dot here, there's a dot here. This shows me my timeline of my 3 signals. And I'll show you more about that in just a minute. If I shrink this down a little bit, since I've been making my browser a little bit bigger, down here at the bottom, this is my syslog. So you can, I can, we can look at the syslog here to see who's been making changes to the environment, who's been playing around, who's been maybe moving something from new to in progress, things along those lines. Up here, again, this is my little button I can click on to take me back to this heads up display at any time. I can click on insights and see all of my various insights. I can click on my signals and see all of my various signals. I can click on my insights and see all my various insights, who my various actors and sources and stuff like that are. I can also look at my underlying records if I need to, and for that I need to build a query since there's a lot of records here to go through. And then here is where I can manage my content. Now I've got a whole bunch of options under content. You may not necessarily see a whole lot of options here, but there's a lot of different things I can do. I've got full administrative rights in this environment. You'll be able to see rules and rule tuning and custom insight. That's it. Over here, there's a gear icon that I can click on. And again, I've got a lot more options than you do. But I can sit there and go in here and configure things. I can modify and add some new statuses if I want to, and a wide variety of other things. Over here with the red dot and the question mark, if I click on that, that's our documentation. And our red dot denotes that we've got some announcements. And so if I click on those announcements, they'll tell us every time we make an update to the system, you'll get a little red dot and you'll get information about what we changed, what rules we've added, what things we've done. Also, here's our documentation for this particular product and that sort of thing. This little grid icon allows you to go back to the other Sumo logic environment here, right? So you can go back to Sumo logic if you want to and go into that. Let me click on this tab, take me back. Then I can also see who I'm logged in as. Now, that's a little bit of the heads up display. So here, in activity 1, we want to look at our heads up display and kind of walk through it. Let me go back here, if you don't mind, to this. And again, here I can see, I said, just, my records, my information. Let me magnify this up a little bit, make it easier for you to see. Okay. Again, I can see how long things are taking, remediation time, all that. Now, when I go into an insight, and I can do that one of several ways. I can take this new insight right here and I can click review. Or I can find my latest insight, click on it, open it up. Or I can just flat out go to insights. And this will show me all of my insights. Now, when you look at all of your insights, you may see it one of 2 ways. I may see a list of all my insights, or I may see something that looks like this. And you'll see there's 2 icons here. I can switch back and forth. So here are my new insights. Here are the ones that are marked in progress. Here are the ones I have status of don't use. Here's the one I have status of email sent. And here I've got status of closed. If I want to move something from here to in progress, as you can see, I can simply drag and drop it. Or more importantly, I could go into that particular insight, and I'm going to go into this first one here, this command and control one. And here under status, I can also change it to email sent, in progress, whatever I want. And again, you can control that status code. Okay. Now, what's this insight trying to tell me? Again, it's all about this entity, Rico Dynamite, this username, Rico Dynamite. The overall insight has either a low, a medium, or a high score. It could also have critical. It consists of 3 unique signals, and it was last seen 4 hours ago. Here I can see my event time, how long it's been going on when the insight was first created. And these tags are related to my MITRE ATT&CK framework. Down here in the insight, you can add comments about what you do, what your investigation discovers, what actions you've taken. You can actually document this little rascal. Okay. You scroll down here as a whole. I'm sorry, let me go back up here. Sorry. So here I see a timeline. My first signal is right there. My second signal is right there. My third signal is right there. I can see the timeline of the signals. Now, what's this signal doing? It's saying, hey, I got an AWS API call from an account that's terminated in an Active Directory. So that's something very suspicious, right? Based on a rule. I can, if I want to, click on this signal. And now instead of looking at the insight, I'm now looking at the signal. So it says signals, details, signal 1 of 3. And I can now see that each of these signals has a score, a weighted score. And if the sum of those signals that are related by the entity is 10 or greater over a 2-week period, that is what generates our insight. So this one has a score of 6 by itself. You and I, when we create the rules, we decide what the score values are going to be. Okay. So I can see here what's going on, what fields it's pulling. I can see who the IP address was, who the username was. I can see the device it came from. I can see the various fields it pulled from this, the extracted fields, all kinds of wonderful stuff. Now, I can, if I want to, go back to signals and go to the next signal, or along my timeline here, I can just click on this right arrow and it will take me then to signal 2 of 3. And after I had this, somebody trying to access an account that has been disabled or whatever, now I have a rare GIS guard duty alert. Instance credential exfiltration. So somebody's trying to access some credentials here through guard duty. And again, I can see basically what's going on here. And I can see the host name of the environment that they're trying to access in my AWS environment, my AWS org, things like that. And again, who the username was that was trying to do this. And then mapping and all that fun stuff. So I can see information about this event. Then if I want to, I can go up here to the very top and I can click on this triangle again, and it will show me the third signal, an AWS network firewall high severity alarm. So now somebody logged in from a known disabled account, and then they tried to, excuse me a second, they tried to do a credential exfiltration, where they're trying to get a hold of credential information. And then we're trying to get some sort of a network firewall high severity alert. And this one also has a score of 11. That one had a score of 11. The previous one had a score of 2. The one before that, a score of 6. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 11 is 19. Again, that's greater than 10. So that's what fired off this alert. And so again, I can see the information about this information. And I can then investigate this. And I can talk to Rico Dynamite, and I can maybe, if I need to here, maybe I need to take this environment that's right here, that's being used, and I may need to change it or check it out or investigate it or disable it or whatever, okay? So, and again, what I could do with my insight is I could document that all in my credentials, the steps I've taken, the action I've taken, and of course I could eventually go up here and mark this eventually maybe closed once I get everything resolved. Now, besides that, I can also assign this to my team. I can also take actions on this if I want to. So I can send this to PagerDuty or Microsoft Teams or whatever, create a Jira ticket, and again, straighten this process out. So typically what happens when we do these sort of investigations is there's sort of a process that we go through. And this, folks, is the process. Bear with me while it loads. There we go. Again, I pick an insight. Maybe it's the latest insight. Maybe it's whatever insight's been assigned to me, whatever. You pick that insight. I can then examine each of the signals of that insight. I formulate some sort of a hypothesis or an idea of what happened based on those signals. What's the story those signals are trying to tell me? Then I can take action on that insight, assign it to my SOC team, my network operations team, send it to my IT team, whatever I need to do. Send Guido out and shoot the shoot the entity, whatever. I don't think that's probably a good option, but you can try it. And then I can update the status. And then I basically, after I update status, I go and redo this whole thing again, right? Pick another insight and go through this process. I think you would agree this definitely eliminates fatigue on the analyst part. Makes it very easy for them to find the things that they need to focus on, okay? Again, you can create your own rules if you want to. You can create your own insights and stuff if you need to. But what I want to do next is I want to do in activity 1, we can monitor and see a user. It's basically having me walk you through the interface, which I already did, okay? In activity 2, what we want to do is we want to find an insight called persistence with initial access. So let's go back into our Sumo library environment. Let's go into our Cloud SIEM Advanced. Let me go back to the home button here. Again, that home button takes me back to home. I'm going to click on Insight. And here I can use my filters to search for a specific insight. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the filter and I'm going to say name. And rather than saying is or is not or whatever, I'm going to say contains. And contains starting with, and I'm going to start with the word persistence. And as I start typing in persistence, it starts showing me what my choices are. And you may recall I wanted persistence with initial access. So I'm going to click on persistence with initial access. Now, again, your interface may look like this, or it may just simply a pick list. Okay, that's because of these 2 icons up here. Now, a couple of these are in progress. I'm not going to worry about the in progress ones. I'm going to grab one that's new but not in progress. So back here on the 23rd, 3 days ago, there was this insight, in my case, number of 14963, persistence with initial access. Here is the entity it came from, a private IP address, 192.168. If I open up and click on this insight, I can now see the signals that make up this insight. So here is my insight. Here are the signals. It has, hang on a second, let me go over here to the left, 4 signals. It's last seen 3 days ago. Okay, first signal, threat intel, device IP matched threat intel file hash. So what it's saying is it found a file. That's me try to bring in here. Based on the file hash, it identified it as a threat. Okay, so the antivirus scanned and found this file. Okay, I could click on this and go into more detail if I want to. And again, I can see, the file information, the file hash. Here's the file hash it was looking for. So I don't care what you named the file, that's irrelevant. It's going to look for the file hash. And if it finds that file, it's going to sit there and say, we got a problem. Okay, so we got a bad file out there, a malicious file. Okay, I'm going to go back to signals this time to take me back to where I can see all my signals. So there, this has a value of 3, not important really, but I'll get to it in a second. Then I get, and I see here that was on 4/22, 11/15. On 4/23, a user receives an email with a phishing link. How many times do we see that across our network, huh? That's something that occasionally happens. It has a score of 4, so 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay. And again, I can look into this and see what the phishing link was and see what's going on. The user's email was vagrant@windowsdomain.com. Again, I can look into this, get more information if I need to. So I scroll down here, it says, another event at 11:10, checkpoint, threat emulation malicious file allowed. Okay. So a file was transferred from one IP address to another IP address. And again, it's marked as a Trojan and all that fun stuff. So and this has a score of 3. So again, just to remind you, 3 plus 4 plus 3 is 10. And the next score, by the way, is 5, 15. That's greater than or equal to 10. So again, that's why I got this insight. That's how this insight became created. Finally, here I've got a CrowdStrike alert, detection summary event. If I want to go into this signal just to see what a detection summary event is, it says it detected this file. exhibiting signs of activity. And so it's basically somebody's trying to use this file. And so now I can go out here. I can go to this computer on this machine in my network. I can take it offline. I can find virus scans on it. I can see who's been using this, who the users are, and figure out what's going on, try to clean things up, maybe do a virus scan on my domain controllers and all kinds of other things, make sure things are eradicated away from my environment. But hopefully you can see how helpful getting information like this is. We didn't have to do anything. All we really had to do was to set up the logs and log information stuff to bring in here. And it automatically applies it against the rules and does all this stuff automatically. So it's pretty powerful. And that, by the way, is activity number 2. Okay. Activity number 2. Any questions about this? All right. So let us find the slide I'm looking for here. So hopefully today you have seen how Cloud SIEM and Cloud SIEM Advanced, powered by AWS, can allow you to simplify alerts, investigate threats, and automate actions. Make things easy for you, okay? We talked about this wonderful message process and how we can ingest our logs, and we take those records and we apply them against our rules. If we find there's a match, again, we extract the entity and we generate a signal. You'll find that you can modify existing rules if you want to. You can also use rule tuning to apply rule tuning to things. And of course, all of our rules will keep updating, keep fresh, that sort of thing. So today you've had a chance to see our audit and compliance. You've had a chance to see our Cloud SIEM and our Cloud SIEM Advanced, all powered by AWS. If you want to take this for a test spin, number one, you have access to our training environment. You can simply log into our training environment. You can do that, that's fine. But if you want to do this on your own environment, you can go out to the AWS Marketplace and you can, hang on a second, I'm going to try to copy this and put this in the chat box. You can go out to the AWS Marketplace and you can request a trial here of the Sumo Logic information. And it's going to help me if I can shoot. Tell you what, let me do it this way. Let me see if I can put this in the chat box. There you go. That'll take you out to the AWS Marketplace. And on the AWS Marketplace, you can request a trial of this and spin up an environment that you can play with for, I think it's 30 days. Okay. Additionally, if you want to know more about Sumo Logic and our Cloud SIEM environment and our Cloud SIEM Advanced environments, we've got a whole bunch of micro trainings, free trainings, and all that stuff that you can take. So here is our product documentation where you can find out about Cloud SIEM and Cloud SIEM Advanced stuff. Additionally, we've got a bunch of training here that you and I can use that we can go ahead and sign up for. We can see what's going on and sign up for various training. Again, all of our training is free, my favorite price. Additionally, if you want to, you can also, don't worry about the survey, you can also take the certification exam. So to take the certification exam, there is an access code I need to give you, and I need to give you this URL, partnertraining@sumologic.com. You can go to that site, you can sign up, again, plug in the access code, and that will give you access to the certification exam. And you can take a specific AWS, excuse me, a Sumo Logic certification exam that is dealing with the topics we've talked about today. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll gladly provide you that information. Other than that, what questions have you? What questions do you all have? Any?
I don't have any specific questions. It's a good intro. Like I've been sitting here going through insights specifically, and I think I like the way it puts the workflow together for you.
Right. No, it makes it fairly easy, and I mean it's a lot of information in a short period, but it's organized fairly well. So I agree with you. I like it too. Any other questions, comments, or anything like that before we consider wrapping it up? Again, on behalf of myself, AWS, and everybody at Sumo Logic, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and please be safe out there. And hopefully at some point in time, we'll do this face-to-face. So we'll get together some point and have ourselves a good time. Otherwise, folks, like I said, you want to take the exam, let me know. Otherwise, you guys are welcome to sign out. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and please be safe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.